All right, then we're going to start the meeting, and if John comes in, hopefully he comes in. It's going to take me 20 minutes just to read the script for the remotely conducted open meeting. So I'm going to start the meeting, the Traffic Safety Committee. It's 7:03 on May 13th, 2021. Before I start, and we're doing this remotely, I have to read the remote guidelines, so please bear with me. We want to confirm member access. As a preliminary matter, my name is Norman Crapo, Chair of the Traffic Safety Committee. Permit me to confirm that all members and persons anticipated on the agenda are present and can hear me. When you hear your name, please respond in the affirmative. Okay, John Reel.
Here, affirmative.
Scott Rossiter.
Present.
Okay, Brian Tazirko. Oh, I see
Yes,
you. Excellent.
Yes.
All right. Dan
Yeah.
Bozaski. I'm sorry. I practiced all day trying to get your last name, but I'm French, you know.
Dan works.
There you go. Dan works. Okay. John Bouchard is not here yet. And Paul Canoia is we couldn't come. So, all right. Anticipated presenters or petitioners, Adrian Santos. Adrian Santos. Okay. Caitlin McQueen. All right.
Yes. Yep, we're right here.
We say, okay. Elijah Shira. Okay. And Marta Zitek.
Right here.
Is that right, Zitek or Zitek? Zitek? Okay. Okay, just for the record, I did send out notifications, as did the Select Board's office, who takes care of the Zoom, to make sure everybody was notified. So we should be good with that. Okay, introduction of remote meeting. Good evening. This open meeting is of the Town of Grafton Traffic Safety Committee, is being conducted remotely, consistent with Governor Baker's executive order of March 12, 2020, due to the current state of emergency in the Commonwealth due to the outbreak of COVID-19 virus. In order to mitigate the transmission of the COVID-19 virus, we have been advised, directed by the Commonwealth, to suspend public gatherings. As such, the governor's order suspends the requirement of the open meeting laws to have all meetings in a publicly accessible physical location. Further, all members of public bodies are allowed and encouraged to participate remotely. The order, which you can find posted on the town's website at www.grafton-mass.gov, allows public bodies to meet entirely remotely so long as reasonable public access is afforded so that the public can follow along with the deliberations of the meeting. Ensuring public access does not ensure public participation unless such participation is required by law. This meeting will feature public participation. Those are the petitioners. For this meeting, the traffic safety is convening by telephone, video conference via Zoom, as posted on the town's website, identifying how the public may join. For Zoom meetings, please note that this meeting is being recorded and that some attendees are participating by video conference. Accordingly, please be aware that other persons may be able to see you and that you should take care not to screen share your computer. Anything that you broadcast may be captured by the recording. Meeting materials, all supporting materials that have been provided to members of this body are available online on the town's website, unless otherwise noted. The public is encouraged to follow along using the posted agenda unless I note otherwise. Ground rules. We are now turning to the first item on the agenda. Before we do so, permit me to cover some ground rules for effective and clear conduct of our business and to ensure accurate meeting minutes. I will introduce each speaker on the agenda. After they conclude their remarks, the chair will go down the line of members, inviting each by name to provide any comment, questions, or motions. Please hold until your name is called. Further, please remember to mute your phone or computer when you are not speaking. Please remember to speak clearly and in a way that helps generate accurate minutes. For any response, please wait until the chair yields the floor to you and state your name before speaking. If members wish to engage in colloquy with other members, please do so through the chair, taking care to identify yourself. Finally, each vote taken in this meeting will be conducted by a roll call vote. Okay, we have 4 items on the agenda under new business, and we have some old business to address. Okay. Any questions? None? Okay, so we'll go to, we're going to skip accepting the minutes until after we have the petitioners. This way we'll allow the petitioners to state their cases, and then they can sign off if they so choose. So going right to new business. Request from Adrian Santos to adjust the speed limit to 20 miles per hour and for a sign to be placed upon entering Bridle Ridge and upon entering Morgan Drive in the town of Grafton. Mr. Santos, are you here? He's still not here. Okay, you know what? We'll come back to that one. Give him some time in case he's running late. Okay, item 2, request from Caitlin McQueen of Sutton to create a 4-way stop at Main Street and Leland Hill Road. Ms. McQueen?
Yes,
Okay, please let us know what you're looking for.
so at the bottom of Leland Hill, when you're going into Grafton, there is that Main Street goes right through it. There's a stop on Leland Hill, then across the street. I don't know the name of it. But there's like no visibility when you're coming down the street. To the right, there's a giant bush. Normally it's cut down right now, but normally there's a giant bush. And to the left, there's that new nutrition shop. And if there's anything larger than a compact sedan, you cannot see like going left. And so very often you have to like scooch out a little bit. And then my sister has gotten in an accident. That used to be my daily commute, and it just seems very dangerous, the speed that they go, to have to try to cross without having full visibility.
Okay,
I recommend.
all right. Anything from the committee?
John here. Chief, any accidents other than the one just talked about? And
I went back 5 years. There's been about maybe a dozen accidents there. And for the most part, there have been some rear enders and some ice coming down was at Leland Hill. People slipping on the ice and just rolling into the intersection. But there have been accidents there. It's, you know, the thing is, when you're leaving that intersection, you have to, like Ms. McQueen said, you have to kind of crawl out in order to get in there safely.
John Real here again. Actually, I drove down here today and I was coming, actually, you're coming down a hill. Is that correct? Hopefully I was on the right street. And it seemed like
Yep.
the visibility, it seemed like to me, visibility was not that bad. Of course, there was no cars there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I've checked it several times, numerous times, and haven't had any issues, even with a vehicle there. I don't know, because mine is higher, but you know, the request is for a 4-way stop, which I can't endorse that, but if anybody else has any comments on that from the board, the committee.
I will say that I also drove down there, and I didn't realize that there had been a bush there at one point, but I didn't have any problems with visibility, although I do know that occasionally there's a van parked at that new business that opened up. And so maybe that blocks visibility, but it would seem as though you should be able to, you know, slowly get into the intersection without causing an accident. But I'm really kind of surprised, Chief, to hear you say that there have been you think about a dozen accidents there in the last 5 years?
In 5 years, yeah.
Yeah. Doesn't that seem like a lot of accidents for one intersection?
Well, yeah, but given the cause though, where people have the stop sign, there is traffic control there. You have to pull out slowly. And like you said, there is visibility there. I've never seen where my visibility has been blocked. You know, I'm not there every day and every hour, but Brian, any comments on that?
Yeah, I did bring up that intersection in the review by MassDOT of the Main Street project. There is going to be increased signage in that area. However, they did not feel it necessitated having a four-way stop.
Right.
That project is going out to bid now, and bids will be opened May 25th, I think.
Mhm.
So there will be increased signage with the luminaires, whatever the hell they call that, real reflectivity. And hopefully that helps out a little bit. If it's beyond that, then it's something we have to revisit.
Okay. All right, yeah, I know I talked to Paul, he had mentioned that also, as far as the Main Street project. So right now, I don't think it's wise to touch on that. We'll keep an eye on it. I do have officers there from time to time. But it's, the people, when they're there, are gonna have to use caution. That's it. When you have a stop sign, it's your responsibility to take your time to come out. I was in Worcester today, pulling out from near UMass Memorial out onto Belmont Street. And it's doable. You just have to be very cautious. That's it, so. All right.
Chief,
Dan, go ahead.
it's, we're talking Main Street is Route 122A through South Grafton. And it is rather unusual to see a four-way stop in what, involves a state route. I
Yes,
mean, so it's, it's not unusual to see the lack of a four-way stop, shall I say. I mean, they're redoing the road coming up. They've looked into it, and they obviously don't see a necessity to stop the through traffic. And like you say, it's a stop sign on both of the town streets. And if you're to stop and you proceed slowly, there shouldn't be an issue. The only thing, maybe talk with the people with the property there, the business, maybe just to ask them to try to keep from putting a van, on that last space would help keep a little bit of the visibility a little better. But I mean, it's their property. You really can't force them, I don't think.
I mean, we can make the inquiry and ask, but like you said, we can't force them,
Right.
tell them where to park their vehicles, that's the only thing. So, okay.
If I can chime in quick, please.
Go ahead, Brian.
The parking area for the business, across the street from the diner.
Yep,
There used to be a tattoo parlor or whatever it was. That whole area is getting revamped. So there's gonna be no parking along the front of where it faces the street. All that's gonna be moved to the back. We're gonna be doing some work where we cut into the slope in the back, build a retaining wall and build the parking back there. So that should improve visibility quite a bit.
okay. All right. Yeah, I know there's a lot of work that's gonna be done there, and I think that should probably help out. And once that is all reconstructed there, we'll keep an eye on it. Once again, the state, told Brian regarding, what's going on there. They have all the same accident statistics. We're the ones that give them the accident statistics. So they took a look at it. And, one accident is not good, period. But, I think right now we just have to let the state and the town do the work there, and we'll see how that works out. Did you have any other questions, Ms. McQueen?
No, I don't. Thank you.
Okay. All right. So then do I hear any motions, or are we satisfied with this item? Okay. All right. Ms. McQueen, you just, have to see what happens there. I think everybody will probably be pleasantly surprised once the work is done, and hopefully it'll solve any issues that are there. And we'll keep an eye on it. And in the meantime, maybe I'll stop by and talk to the owners of the property, see about that vehicle, and maybe they can find another place for it for the time being. Okay. Thank you.
Do we need a motion?
No, we're not really taking any action. If you just want to make a motion to take no action right now, I'll take that.
I make a motion to take no action at this time and revisit it at a future date if necessary.
Okay, motion's been made by Brian Suzeraco, take no action and revisit in the future if necessary. Do I hear a second?
John Real concur.
Okay,
Second.
second by John Real. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye by roll call. Crapo, aye. Rossiter,
I,
okay. Suzeraco,
Aye.
okay. Real
Aye.
and Dan,
I,
okay. All right, thank you very much. Item number 3, I still don't see Mr. Santos here. Okay, item 3, request from Eliza Shara for thickly settled signs on Sunrise Avenue and Powerline Drive. Just to let you know, I did some research on that. There have been no accidents or incidents on either roadway in that area, but it is a heavily populated area, very congested. So, Miss Shara, if you want to.
Yeah. Thank you for that, Chief Crapo, and nice to meet you. I didn't realize that that was who you were before, but I appreciate the invitation to the meeting. I know we had a good discussion about this a handful of months ago, so I appreciate the opportunity. Yeah, my husband and I and our now 3-year-old son moved into this neighborhood. We live on Sherrill Drive. It's been 2 years this month, and we love it. We take walks every day. We've got a big dog. I've noticed that most of my neighbors either have kids or dogs or both, or they ride bikes or they go for runs. So it's a really active neighborhood. I've been working from home now, as most of us have, for the better part of a year plus. And there's always someone going by either my house or when I pull out to go get my son from school, I'm always seeing folks walking by. So as you said, very thickly settled, active neighborhood, and folks drive really fast on Sunrise, on Powerline, and it doesn't seem to deter them to see me. I happen to be 9 months pregnant with our second, with my son on a tricycle, our dog walking by. They will just continue to speed by. And my concern, although I'm glad to hear there haven't been any incidents, is just the one kid, person, whoever it is, driving by who decides to check their phone at the wrong moment when they're driving too quickly on one of those streets, and some incident does occur. All it takes is one, right? None of us want that to happen. That's why this board exists. So it's a big concern. I'm hoping that signs may be able to be put in, that they would make a difference. I know some of the neighborhood has sidewalks, right? So obviously we walk on the sidewalk when we can. I will share the sidewalks are pretty bumpy, which makes it tough for my 3-year-old on his tricycle. They're also pretty small. And so while we're still dealing with the fallout from COVID, of course, we're trying to keep a little distance from others. And it makes it awfully tough on beautiful days like today. I went for a walk today and there were a lot of people out. So of course, we're all trying to be respectful and give each other some space. So I did put the word out to the neighborhood Facebook group because I just moved in. So I wasn't sure if this was just something that I was under the impression was an issue. I asked how my neighbors all feel about it in our local neighborhood, These Streets Facebook group. And I got over 30 comments in agreement that this is an issue. It's been an issue. We could use some help, encouraging folks to slow down, whether they're visiting someone here or live here way down the end of one of the streets and just are in a real hurry to make it to Pleasant Street. So I appreciate the consideration of either those signs or whatever the committee recommends to help us hopefully stem the flow of fast traffic around here.
Okay. Thank you. Okay, anything from the committee? All right. Just, we've done this in other neighborhoods. Now more than ever, we're putting up the thickly settled because of the issues with getting speed limit signs, traffic studies and all that, but the thickly settled 20-mile-per-hour cautionary signs. So if anybody wants to do that or do something else, I'm all ears. And if I may just interrupt 1 second, the chair sees that John Bishad is here. Thank you for coming, John.
Sorry, Chief, my vaccine ran a little longer than I was anticipating, so,
Yeah, okay.
but, you know, it was needed.
Yeah, no problem. Well, we'll try
So
to get.
sorry
the
I'm
votes-
tardy.
We'll try to get the votes in before you collapse, okay? So, but thanks for coming. So, anyways, Brian, do you have anything
Yeah,
after this?
there are signs when you come in on Powerline and on Sunrise, right when you pull in.
Mhm.
Beyond, I mean, yeah, that's right when you pull in, you're probably not paying attention to them. I wouldn't have an issue so much putting up something, thickly settled wise and, further into the neighborhood, just to remind in case people aren't paying attention.
Yeah.
But I am planning on redoing that whole neighborhood this year as far as repaving it, so it might turn into a bigger issue with everything being completely smooth. So that's what I got about that.
All right, so anyone else from the committee?
Yeah, I just want to warn Elijah that when they do that repaving, if you think they're driving fast now, wait till they have nice smooth paving to go on. And Chief, this issue that we're talking about, number 3, is very similar to number 1. And I realize we're probably going to pass over number 1 if Mr. Santos doesn't show up, but both are very dense neighborhoods with lots of families, lots of walking around. There are only those 2 signs down there in the Sunrise Powerline area that are advisory 20-mile-an-hour signs. I have no problem putting some more signs up throughout the neighborhood, but I'm also wondering in the Morgan Drive, Brindle Ridge neighborhood, where they also lack those signs, the one thing that they do have going for them that Powerline Sunrise does not have is they have stop signs at the obvious intersections. There are no stop signs. At least I didn't see any down in that neighborhood that we're currently talking about in number 3. And I'm wondering if we should be adding some stop signs at places like Powerline and Spanish River and that sort of thing.
I believe there are some in there, in that area.
Wait, I will admit, I only drove around the neighborhood once, and the note that I wrote was no stop sign, Powerline and Spanish River. And then as I continued to drive around, I said, holy smokes, there's no stop signs anywhere in here.
All right.
That could definitely slow traffic down.
Scott, don't say that.
Yeah.
That's right.
If you
We
say
don't
that,
stop
you
signs
know I'm
slow
going
down
to,
traffic.
if you say that, then you know I'm going to oppose it. Stop sign is not a speed deterrent. If the chief, and I'm sorry I missed everything prior to, I heard the last few minutes of the abutters, the comments on Powerline and Sunrise. Chief, you said you hadn't recorded or hadn't
There are no accidents.
no accidents, no incidents that, I mean, there still could be incidents that haven't been reported, but nothing serious that had
That's
been
probably,
brought to your attention. I mean, if stop signs are warranted at some of the cross streets, then absolutely I'm in favor of doing something like that, but you can't install stop signs to control speed. It's not an appropriate device.
yeah, there's
I am
no,
in 100% agreement with that.
okay. Any other comments?
And you guys know that I'm just the opposite. I never met a stop sign I didn't like. I almost advocated for the stop signs at the bottom of Leland, but I thought that was a little bit over the top.
All right, I'm just trying to look at something here. Well, we can take another look at it, and like I said, I think probably, and as I told Ms. Shara, if we put those other signs up for the time being and see how that does, and also, as I told you, and I hope you passed it on to your neighbors, if you do see a car, I mean, if you see a car in that neighborhood, there is no cut through there. The car is there because it's visiting somebody in the neighborhood or they live there, which most of the complaints we get in those types of neighborhoods is exactly, it's a person that lives there. So, you know, if you see something there, and call me, you have my number, or email me, and we will be happy to reach out. I'll reach out myself. And as I said before, we've had this in other parts of town. I've gotten calls from petitioners, and we end up calling, I'll end up calling the owner of the vehicle, because we don't know if the owner is actually the operator. And we let them know that if we get any more complaints, they'll be brought before the registry on an immediate threat. So please don't hesitate to do that. Okay, so do I hear a motion then on the other signs, thickly settled signs with a 20-mile-per-hour rocker? Anyone?
Chief, make a motion, we install thickly settled signs, 20 miles an hour, as you enter into the project from any of the main roads connected to it, such as Pleasant Street, as you enter into the project.
All right, just going back to what Brian said, there are signs there, so can I
Did
ask
they
you?
say thickly settled, or did they just the 20-mile-an-hour ones, I thought?
Those are just a 20-mile-an-hour.
Yeah,
Right,
They say caution children.
yeah,
right, but once you deem it a thickly settled district, that makes it 20 miles an hour automatically. It's not so much as a cautionary sign as a statement that,
It's-
you know, you're going to do 20 miles an hour.
yeah,
It's
it's
30.
still, yeah, it's still cautionary. But what I was gonna say, if you don't mind, just say if we put those in, let's just say at the discretion of the highway department, like
Yeah,
we
that's
normally
fine.
do. Rather
Yeah,
than,
that's a good ad, chief. I mean, you know, we always want to make sure that we use engineering judgment when we're in the field
right,
and install them in appropriate locations where there's clear visibility and they make sense.
right. So if you can, would you mind amending that, Dan?
Oh, I'll amend it. It's, you know, what we normally do anyways.
Yeah.
Yeah, to be under the judgment of the highway department, the superintendent, or well, would become under Paul, I guess. The
Okay,
I would
Motion-
second that, chief.
all right. Motion is made by Dan, seconded by John Bishad. Any further discussion?
Yeah, Chief, just as the clerk, I'd just like to read it back the way I have it written.
Okay,
The motion that I have written down says install thickly settled 20-mile-per-hour signs throughout the Sunrise Avenue Powerline Drive neighborhood at the discretion of the DPW.
that's correct. That's the way I got it, so. Okay,
I would vote aye.
all right, well, we'll start with you. Rossiter, aye.
Oh, we didn't get a second. I'm sorry, we didn't get a second.
I seconded, Scott.
John Bishop.
Okay, all right, so I'll vote aye.
Okay. Brian Zerko,
Aye.
call, John Bishad,
John Bishad, aye.
John Reel,
Aye.
and Dan.
aye.
Okay. All right, is there anything else, Ms. Shara?
My family and I appreciate it. I'll let the Facebook group know and they'll be very appreciative. I don't want to push my luck, but I do just want to ask one other question. I know when we've had this discussion before, we've tended to focus on the entrances to the neighborhood. But Chief Crapo, to your point, most of, I think, the fast traffic actually comes towards the exit to the neighborhood. So understanding that the engineering done by the highway patrol would assess this, we would humbly suggest that some of the signs face in to slow folks down as they're racing towards Pleasant Street. That's typically where I find most of the fast traffic is going, is they're in a hurry to get wherever they're going, not to get home.
Right,
So
yeah. I'll
Humbly
bring that
suggest.
up. Yeah,
Okay.
I can,
Brian, I'm sorry, go ahead, Brian.
I can meet with you, middle of the week, anytime. And we can go over where you think they might make sense to put the signs up.
That
And
would
we can take it from there.
Thank you very much. And then in terms of the stop signs concern, I would completely agree. And that was independently suggested by some of my neighbors who live closer to the four-way intersection between Spanish River Road and Power Line, because there's really tough visibility there too. And if folks go around sort of the Trinity Loop, they can go really fast and really hurt people. So I'd just like to offer my support of that suggestion, however we track that one down.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay, any comments on that from anyone?
Chief, I would just recommend that while Brian's in the neighborhood, that he make some visual assessments, and that we could bring it back to a future meeting for discussion.
Okay, very good. All right then. All right,
Thank you very much.
I can do that, no problem.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Good luck with the baby.
Yeah, congratulations, good luck.
Congratulations.
Thank you very much. Take care, everyone.
Bye now. Okay, item number 4, request from Marta Zytek for following traffic safety modifications on Bruce Street. Provide walking path, sidewalks on one side of the road, lower the speed limit and place speed limit signs, and install 2 speed bumps, make Bruce Street a one-way. Okay, Ms. Zytek, I just want to make sure I'm saying that once again correctly.
That's correct, Chief. Thank
Okay.
you so much for this opportunity and having us. I allow myself to invite few neighbors
Okay.
to also present their concerns.
Okay, and I'll just let you know, I did some research on Bruce Street, and there have been no speed-related accidents, no pedestrian accidents. I
Mhm.
think the only accident we had, well, just one where a vehicle back in 2019 slid on the ice and hit a street sign. That was it. There've been no issues there.
Well, we've been residents on Bruce Street for about 8 years now, and our street got repaved about 3 years ago. And since then, the traffic's been horrendous. There's a lot of pedestrians coming by. There's a lot of kids. I'm very concerned because a lot of times people don't pay attention to us even trying to cross the road to get the mail from mailbox. So on a lot of instances, it does, a lot of these accidents haven't happened, but this street has been increasingly more and more busy, especially going from South Street to the 122 to Providence Road. It's all downhill, so people just speed going down. Going uphill is not as bad going towards South Street from 122, and that's my biggest concern though. All these are just suggestions. I'm not requesting all of them, but I want something happen to make our street a little bit safer.
Okay. Anybody from the committee, any comments?
John Real here. I noticed that coming from South Street, going on Bruce, there's no speed limit sign.
There's none.
There's none, correct, yeah. But there is one sign if you're coming up from
Going
122.
up, there's a 30-mile-an-hour sign. Anyone else?
If I may, can I add a comment?
Yes, could you identify yourself, please?
Chris Breacher, I live at 23 Bruce Street.
Okay.
And couple of different things. One, walking the dog, if we know cars coming, we, especially around the curves near the Zytex or further up near Bruce Hollow, we basically have to get out of the road because the cars come around, they don't see us coming. They don't know that we're there, and they are going around those curves way too quickly, both up the street and down the street.
The only problem is, and I say this every time when people, well, you're walking in the road. There's no sidewalk, there's no shoulder. So the road belongs to the cars, okay? You know, and when you're walking in the road and a car is passing you within feet, it's gonna, I mean, I'm sure there are cars going quickly, especially going downhill. That's natural. People don't ride their brakes all the way down the hill. But you're walking in the road, okay? You have to remember that, all right? There's no sidewalks, there's no shoulder, there's no walking lane, there's no bike path, nothing like that. So that's the problem there. And, you know, I know one of the suggestions was a path or a sidewalk. And, you know, we'll see what the committee has to say, but you have to be careful when you're walking in the road, you know, and unfortunately, Grafton doesn't have a whole heck of a lot of sidewalk in town, even on the major streets, you know? So you just got to be careful. Anybody on the committee have any comments?
If I may, Chief?
Yep,
Brian? Prior to paving, when I did that road, we did look into adding sidewalk, and basically the cost associated with it because of the terrain made it, and takings and things like that that would have to have been done, made it something we couldn't do at the time when we redid the road.
okay.
I can just jump in here. Simon Zytek, Marta's husband. Yep, no, I think that's an absolute valid point, right? There's no sidewalks here. Obviously, you have to be careful. I mean, my issue, I think sort of what we're trying to sort of come to a resolution towards is really speeding, slowing folks down, right? There's times where, especially on Fridays, where there's trash cans, recycling containers, there's kids coming back from school going up both ways, people with cars going up both ways. And it's particularly the one area right where Bruce Street takes a right into Pullard. I mean, that's almost, you can't even see that driveway, which I believe is 24 or 26 Bruce Street. And there's been a couple close calls, especially with Amazon Prime vans in that corner. And sometimes I know the residents there who were unable to make it, their driveway is pretty slippery, right? I think they both recognize it. Sometimes they'll park right there. And I've witnessed it a couple of times that cars, you know, are speeding, not thinking twice, taking a turn right and almost hit them. So it's really just a matter of slowing down the traffic, you know, be it through an additional speed sign. But obviously, you know, yes, obviously sidewalks are incredible expenditure. But, you know, as my wife mentioned, those weren't sort of all asked. They're just a list of possibilities. I mean, you guys really, I would defer to you guys as the experts, but it seems that even a speed bump or two would probably dramatically slow down traffic, both going up and down Bruce Street.
Okay. One thing, I'm sorry, go ahead.
So what I was gonna say, these roads, these neighborhoods were built in the 70s and 80s where the traffic was much lower than what it is currently. We have a huge development over Elliott Trail. So all this traffic going to the condos, Bruce Hollow condos, all the traffic just cutting through to get to South Street and get to the town common is so much volume. And you know, I like my husband said, I'm just suggesting something to help us feel a little bit more safer on the road. We had a few incidents where my kid was getting off the bus, and the bus with the stop sign drawn was passed on the left side. You can, I didn't make a notice of all these, but I'm sure you can get it on the camera. We're not making these stuff up. This street is extremely dangerous, and you can see on the weekends, both sides of the road, people are walking dogs, teenagers on the bikes. This is just accident waiting to happen.
Well, once again, it's true, but there's no sidewalks there. You're in the road, so you have to be especially careful. I would agree on putting some signs, you know, if the committee, you know, they make a motion for the thickly settled signs to try to slow people down. I mean, I can have a car there, one available, but we have this issue all over town. Nobody drives the speed limit in town. And, you know, we try to get as many as we can. We try to be as visible as we can. One thing I will try to do is maybe get one of the radar signs up. We just got a grant. We get some radar signs that we can move from pole to pole or whatever. We can put that up. But you know, it's a sign. It's not a barrier. It's not it doesn't catch the car and slow it down. It's a sign. And unfortunately, you know, people that are in the street, you said you have people on both sides of the streets walking. That's not what that street is. That's not the purpose of that street, you know, and that's the problem.
No,
So,
but there's
everybody has
some,
to use caution.
yeah.
Can I chime in, please?
Go ahead, Brian.
Can I ask Martha a question?
Mhm.
Yes, please.
Does it seem like any specific time of day where it's worse than other times?
Yes, so usually early morning, the rush hour, because it's a cut through street, right? So everyone just goes around, I don't know, between 8 o'clock till 9 and then afternoon hours.
Mhm.
So I know there's something that could be done, and that's why we're here, and I appreciate your time, and we are very committed to making this neighborhood a safer place for us, because we have a lot of young families. I reached out to the nearest neighbors, but I'm sure if I went down the street, there would be a lot more people who would want to get involved, because it is dangerous, right? One of the possibilities I was thinking, if we could install like a removable speed bump that can be taken out for the winter for plowing purposes, whatnot, but just something for, let's say, spring through fall.
Okay, we've had requests for speed bumps. I'm not an advocate of those. And most of the committee, I mean, it's up to them. There are issues there, placing speed bumps, especially on a road like that. You know, I'm not an advocate for that, but I'll leave it up to committee. Is there anybody else?
One more thing, and also you mentioned the radar sign. If
Yeah.
you could place it on the way going from South Street toward 122, because that's
Yeah,
the
that's where we
biggest
would put it.
issue, because that's
Yeah.
the biggest issue with speeding.
Yeah,
Chief?
okay, yes,
Yes, I'd like to make a motion that we do the 20-mile-an-hour signs at this location. You know, currently the speed limit's 30 miles an hour on the town roads. And
Mhm.
if you do 30 miles an hour down that section of road, especially over the, down the hill and into the curve at the beginning of the Bruce Hollow condos, that speed's excessive, especially if there's people on, you know,
yeah,
walking.
pick up speed going
So-
down the hill. Yeah,
So at least, you know, if they, everybody's gonna have to share the road, obviously. I think the 20-mile-an-hour signs would be a start, and, you know, if it continues to be an issue, well, we can address it further down the road.
okay,
So,
If I could, I'd like to shut that street off with a no right turn between the hours of, you know, 7 to 8. And also on Pleasant Street, so that people aren't coming up to the common to shoot down Oak Street in order to bypass all the traffic to get to the high school.
Mhm.
Because that's what they're doing. That's why they're flying.
Mhm.
And the same thing on the way home.
What do you mean, no right turn? Have you lost me on that one?
Me too.
They come from South Grafton up 122, and they take the right at Bruce
Oh, yeah.
or
Loop up
Church,
through the- loop up
or
through the center.
and they come to the center, and then they go flying down by my house over here on Oak Street.
Mhm.
And literally, we're talking 50+ miles an hour, but it's right at like right around 7 o'clock, and there's no cops on the road at that point because it's shift change.
Okay, is anyone else? All right, so we have a motion on the floor for, from Dan for sign indicating compact area with a 20-mile-per-hour rocker. Do I hear a second?
I'll second that, chief.
Okay. Seconded by John Bashad. Any further discussion?
yeah, I have a question, Chief. So didn't somebody say that there's already a 30-mile-an-hour speed limit sign on Bruce Street somewhere? And if
Yes,
there
on the
is,
bottom.
If there is, are we leaving that sign there and then also installing these new 20-mile-an-hour advisory signs, or do we need to remove the 30?
I think the best thing would be to do is take the 30-mile-an-hour sign out. What do you think, Brian?
My vote would be for removing the 30-mile-an-hour non-enforceable sign and replacing it with a 25-mile-per-hour yellow advisory sign.
All right, well, Dan proposed a 20-mile-an-hour sign.
Oh, 20, okay.
Okay. So,
Is the 30-mile-per-hour sign, if I could ask Chief Brian, is the 30-mile-per-hour sign an advisory sign or is it a regulatory sign?
regulatory.
Black writing with the white background.
Okay, so that's a regulatory, so that is enforceable.
There's
Or do we
been no
not have a
speed-
speed zone on that street?
There's no speed zone done.
Yeah,
Okay, all right, I misunderstood, sorry, just wanted to clarify.
yeah. So, Dan, would you want to just add to your motion?
Remove the 30-mile-an-hour sign?
Yeah,
Yes, that would make sense.
absolutely.
They'll be confused enough. We don't need to give them 2 targets.
All right.
Can I
So-
also add one thing, Chief? Just, well, let's finish this motion. I had a second question on
Yeah.
on Bruce Street.
We'll look at the other stuff. Okay, so motion's been made and seconded to remove the 30-mile-per-hour sign currently in place on Bruce near Providence Road. And install signs indicating compact area with 20-mile-per-hour rocker. All right, any other discussion?
Again, one question as your clerk. I guess I've never heard the term compact area. We used thickly settled.
Thickly settled, I'm sorry.
Okay. Some of us are from Rhode Island, some of us are from Massachusetts. I got it.
Yeah,
You went back to Woonsocket on that one.
there you go.
Okay,
we
so
use thickly settled,
let me just read the motion back the way the clerk has it drafted.
okay?
Install thickly settled 20-mile-per-hour signs at the discretion of DPW and remove existing 30-mile-per-hour sign.
That's it. That sound right, Dan?
Yes, sounds good.
All right. We had discussion. All right, all those in favor, roll call. John Bishad,
John Bouchard, yes.
John Real,
Yes,
Brian Zerko,
Zerko, aye.
Dan,
Aye.
and Scott,
Yes.
and chair votes yes. Okay. You had something else, John Bishad?
After we had repaved Bruce Street, have we restriped it, Brian? Or are we still in the Dave Kraus era?
I don't believe that road was ever striped.
I don't think so. There are no paper.
Ernie with the highway department has the master list of all the roads that had, whether it was fog lines, double yellows or both. And
Well,
He
some
goes-
some definition to the roadway might, some delineation and definition might help. With the, when it's just when it's a 25-foot wide sea of black pavement,
Mhm.
it doesn't really keep people in their lane. And I with walkers and bikers and the like, I would look at that. I don't know if we have a plan to do a striping contract in the near future, Brian, but that would be something I would like us to think about.
well, during the discussion that we just had, I was thinking about that myself. And that's not a scenic road, so there's no pushback from that aspect of it. So yeah, it's something I've thought about in the past too, as far as other roads. And we have to come up with a plan. Maybe we can talk about that at our next DBW advisory.
Oh, kicking it to my committee. Okay.
I was gonna suggest, John hit the nail on the head there, but maybe would somebody make a motion to request that this roadway be striped with pavement markings, appropriate pavement markings at earliest possible, for the DPW. Yes, Ms. Sytek.
Sorry, just a quick question. During the painting, can we possibly add like a slow? I know I'm pushing it. I know you're trying to help me. I'm pushing it, but you have to understand.
Actually,
I'm
I like the pavement markings like that. We have them in a few areas, not in a lot. But that, somebody wants to make that part of the motion. Anyone?
Well, Chief, we have an ability to install signs. We don't have a contract in place for striping.
Okay.
And, for any striping and fog line and slow that I'm aware of. So I would recommend we refer that element of the concern to the DPW advisory for us to
Okay.
bring it up and see if we can issue a contract, because there are more than, it's more than Bruce Street. I mean, we went through we have been going through a significant paving program in town for the last several years, and we haven't been following up with appropriate striping.
Mhm.
So,
Especially on new roads. I
on
mean,
the-
that's
yeah.
where, yeah. Okay.
So I would ask, I would make a motion to refer striping and other pavement markings to the DPW advisory committee.
Okay,
If
so
I may,
Brian,
as far as striping goes, I've held off on that, putting that contract out because the normal budget line item that it comes out of has been completely chewed. So next fiscal, I'm gonna be putting it out soon so that we have a contract in place for next fiscal year, which then could be done, summer, fall of this year itself.
okay. But
Well,
if
this
we
committee
can-
referring it to Public Works Advisory doesn't, it just refers it to
Yeah.
a separate committee that would be more responsible for that. And that's
Exactly.
good information to add, Brian. Thank you.
So do we need a motion to do that, John? Or if we just include in the minutes that we discussed this, is that going to be enough?
Well, I would ask the chief, do we need to run through the selectmen to refer it to DPW?
Yeah, I would do it that way. I mean, we're supposed to make recommendations to the select board, just like when we have something that goes to the state. We make a recommendation to the Board of Selectmen the select board to refer it to the state, because we can't do it on our own.
Right.
Technically, even though, John, you're on the committee and all that, but this way here, it's formal, it's in the minutes, and it's out there in perpetuity. So unless anybody it's up to you, John. You want to
I can make it as a motion that, Scott, have you written anything down yet? I don't want to make you have to rewrite anything.
I love to listen to you, John.
I'd like to make a motion to refer pavement striping and possible, other striping improvements along Bruce Street be referred to the DPW advisory committee.
Second,
Who's that seconded?
Dan,
Ian, okay, thank you. Okay, any further discussion? Hearing none, roll call. No, John Reel,
Yes.
Dan,
aye.
Scott,
Yes,
Brian,
Zerko, aye.
John Bishad,
Bashad, aye.
and chair votes aye. So we'll have signs up and hopefully pavement markings for the next
In fiscal 22.
fiscal 22, which is July 1st. So any other discussion on Bruce Street? And like I said, we'll try to get the radar sign out there to hopefully slow some people down. And we'll try to monitor as best we can. It's, peak periods and, we don't have a large force. So we'll see what we can do. So.
Thank you. Thank you so much for your consideration and your time. We
Okay.
really appreciate it.
And, and I mentioned it before for Sunrise, if you're walking or your neighbors are walking and you see a vehicle that you think is going really fast, or, like I said, though, when you're standing in the road, basically, which is what you're doing, and a car goes by, even a car going 20 miles an hour, looks like it's going fast, you know? But and I don't doubt that they're out there. But take down the plate and feel free to shoot me an email. You all have my email, and we will follow up with the owner of that vehicle and give them a warning and let them know. And I can, as I said before, I've never gotten a second complaint on a vehicle after we've talked to the person that owns the car. Trust me, I've never gotten a second complaint. So, all right. Okay, thank you for your input. We appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Chief.
Have a great night.
Good night now. Take
Night.
care. Okay. Once again, Mr. Santos is not here. Does anybody want to take any action? It's a simple thing. It's up to you.
Yeah, actually, there's no speed limit signs at all from any of these directions. And so I would recommend, put a thickly settled, 25-mile-an-hour signs at both entrances.
Okay. All right, so that's a motion?
Yes, that's a motion.
Okay. All right, motion made by John Reel to put thickly settled 20 or 25 mile an hours.
25.
25?
Yeah,
Okay.
the sight line there, as I look, it's pretty good, and a lot of stop signs out there too.
Yeah, okay. So 25 mile an hour signs.
Entering Brittle Ridge and Morgan Drive
All
at the
right.
discretion of the DPW.
Okay. Do I hear a second?
Second,
Second, all right. Motion made, seconded by Dan. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor? John Bishad,
John Bouchard, aye.
Brian,
Zerko, aye.
John Reel,
Aye.
Dan,
aye.
Scott,
Aye.
and chair votes aye. Okay. Go back to accept the minutes of the meeting held on October 14th, 2020. You all have a copy of the meeting minutes. And the only thing is, I'm going to go back to old business with that. There was an inquiry made. First of all, meeting minutes, everybody get a chance to look at them? Do I hear a motion?
I make a motion to accept the minutes as presented.
Okay. Motion made by Brian. Do I hear a second? Second?
Seconded by
Aye.
John Reel.
John Reel, okay. Any further discussion?
I did go through them,
Sure.
I just
Alright.
wanted to see Jake break written down.
Well, that's what we're gonna discuss in a second under old business. Okay, any other discussion on that? Hearing none, roll call. John Bishad,
John Bouchard, aye.
Brian,
Zerko, aye.
John Reel,
Yes.
Dan,
Aye.
Scott,
Aye.
and chair votes aye. Okay, all right, old business, there was an inquiry as far as the Jake or engine brake signs. Somebody had made an inquiry about the Waterville Street in that area, North Main Street in that area. Did you find out anything, Brian? You were supposed to look at it as of the last meeting?
I did.
Okay,
So basically I talked to one of the traffic engineers up at MassDOT,
yep,
and she told me that we'd have to do a traffic study to find out where the traffic is going as far as, heavy truck traffic goes, turning movements, things like that.
mhm,
But the other thing was you would have to also have a noise bylaw that would either be townwide or area specific, something like
Mhm.
that. Where then they can't use the Jake brake in those areas, kind of like the thing with the trains belting off the
Yeah.
horns.
yeah, you can't just do it townwide, for the Jake breaks and all, although if you had a townwide bylaw, there is a statute, loud and objectionable noises from a motor vehicle. I don't know if that would apply because, I mean, an engine brake is allowed. It's a
It's a
it's a
safety feature.
nuisance. I'm sorry?
That's a safety feature.
Right, exactly. So it is allowed, it is part of their equipment. It's a nuisance for people that have to listen to it, but just the same. So, all right, as far as this traffic study goes, I mean, that would have to be townwide, correct?
Yeah, you'd have to set up truck routes throughout town, and they would take the state numbered routes more often than not.
Right,
And you're not going to alleviate any problems there.
exactly, because they could use that on those routes, because that's what they're doing. Worcester Street.
Oh, tell me about it when they come down the hill.
I'm sorry?
Tell me about Worcester Street when they come down the hill.
Yeah, Providence Road, I hear him near the station, you know, Route 30 and 140. You hear him, you know, over there, that's where we're getting complaints from. So that would be, those would be the truck routes, correct?
Pretty much. I
So-
mean, you just have to establish a reasonable path that's not an inconvenience for delivery of whatever they're trying to move around.
Yeah,
Chief?
yes,
Yeah, you made the comment on the equipment, you know, car, vehicle making excessive noise.
right,
The engine brakes installed in a truck with stock exhaust on it is nowhere near as loud as what everybody's hearing. You'll find that these trucks that are barking out this noise is usually straight stacks on them and things like that, which would be illegal. It's not a factory exhaust on. Could they be cited under that without the issue of getting into everything with the engine brake as far as, you know, coming into zones and having to have, you know, areas in town and truck routes and everything else?
something like that, we'd probably have to have a truck squad come in to check to see if their exhaust has been modified.
Yeah.
But I've heard anybody say, oh yeah, these people have, you know, it's not like a motorcycle where you put on straight pipes to make it louder.
Well, that's basically what they've done. That's the thing.
Well, I kind of find it hard to believe that every truck that I hear using their engine brakes is modifying their exhaust system,
Well,
especially the large company trucks, you know?
a good portion, what I'm getting at is a good portion of them, the ones that are the annoying ones, are the ones that have been altered.
Yeah, I mean, you know,
I'm sure the town's got the new Max, they must have engine brakes on them. Tell you, go for a ride in one of those and have the guy use the engine brake, and you see the difference.
yeah, well, the new ones, like you said, but you know, there's a lot of, I know there's one company that comes through town, they're out of town, but they drive 140 all the time and, you know, they have older vehicles. So we'd have to have a reason, you know, to stop them. But the officer's got to hear it first, you know?
Right.
So you saying something, Brian?
Say again?
Did you say something? Did you have something to add?
Oh, you're talking about Kimball Sand, I'm sure.
Oh, I'm not saying any names, but
The company from out of town. Yeah. Oh,
a lot of companies from out of town, but I'm not saying any names.
we're recording. Okay.
So, all right, anything, I mean, if this is what we have to do right now, does anybody want to make a motion to bring this before the board to do a traffic study for the engine brakes and also create a noise bylaw townwide?
If I may, before we do that,
Yeah,
I talked to Kevin Gallagher,
yep,
and the petitioner talked to him in
yep,
regards to this issue, and the two of us were like, yeah, if you start putting signs up, as
mhm,
far as enforcement goes, who's going to enforce it when there's no teeth behind anything? And all it's going to do is just make people who are driving a truck say, oh, really? You don't want me to make noise?
Yeah.
Boom, here you go.
well,
So
that's the thing, there has to be the,
Yeah, there's gonna be some teeth.
yeah, there has to be a bylaw.
and I don't think that's something we want to go chasing around. Myself, anyway.
Yeah. Exactly. So, you know, this is old business. Does anybody want any further discussion or motion, or we'll just right now it's still tabled. Okay, hearing nothing. We'll have to, we'll keep it tabled for now. That's it. All right. Anything else from anyone? No? Okay, as far as meetings go, do we still want to keep it as we get petitions, then we'll set up a meeting, or do you want to set a meeting date? You know, hopefully it'll be a quiet summer. Jake, engine brakes notwithstanding, but
Well, that's also gonna be dependent on if we're reappointed.
yeah, there you go.
Could be a really quiet summer.
Yeah. So,
Ken, how does that work right now?
what's that?
Because of the whole COVID thing, nobody's been sworn in.
Yeah. I don't know.
So this is, are you saying that this is not a legal meeting?
No, it is,
Okay,
but there's a drop dead date for that, so
Yeah.
I just don't know what it
I'm
is.
sure we get something from the town clerk. So, and I assuming also everybody did their open meeting and ethics
Yep.
training and all, yeah. So I didn't hear any complaints from the clerk's office, so everybody got that in, good.
If you didn't, you must have gotten 4 or 5 emails to remind you, because I
Yeah.
did.
I had
Yeah.
to do it for both. I had to do it for my employment and for the town.
There you
Yeah,
go.
you'll need both.
All right, so
And
we'll keep the meeting schedule as is right now. We'll schedule a meeting as we are needed. And if there's nothing else, do I hear a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn.
Motion made by John Bishad, seconded by Dan. All those in favor, we'll just do an all those in favor. Aye.
Aye.
Aye.